If you have watched any of my videos, you probably know that I am currently on a quest to hike all the trails in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park and become a member of the 900 Miler Club, which celebrates those who have achieved this goal. Dry Sluice Gap is the one trail east of the 441 that I have not yet hiked at all, and that is where I headed for this trip. The plan was to leave the Newfound Gap parking lot and head northeast on the AT for 4.4 miles, passing Charlie's Bunion shortly before turning southeast on the Dry Sluice Gap Trail for 4.3 miles to reach the Cabin Flats Bradley Fork Junction, at which point it was a leisurely 4 miles to reach the Smokemont Campground and the ride that my nephew had so generously agreed to give me back to my car. I took a quick rest break here at the Dripolator, a fantastic little coffee shop in Black Mountain, North Carolina. It was at this point I realized that I had left my DJI Osmo Pocket 3 video camera, my backpack, and lithium-ion battery at home, which means an extra hour's delay to drop by Walmart to replace the pack and battery, and most painful, all my video will be a little more shaky because I have to use my phone handheld. I really hate that last part, so please bear with me a little. After having picked up a small hydration pack from Walmart, I stopped at the Oconaluftee Visitor Center at the Cherokee, North Carolina adjacent entrance to the park to rinse out the bladder and fill it with water for my hike. Alright, 2 hours late and 2.5 hours now. So what we'll have to do is some night hiking. Should be getting in there about 9 if I do 1.5 miles per hour-ish. It's mostly downhill, so it's possible, I think. But we're going to leave Newfound Gap and head on down, or in this case, up the AT. Well, this should look familiar from my last couple of hikes. This part of the AT coming up from the Newfound Gap parking lot. Man, I missed that Pocket 3 with its gimbal. In any case, this is that same stretch. And in, about 3/4 of a mile, I think we should come to Sweat Heifer. And then just a little ways beyond that to get to the Dry Sluice Gap. The wood asters aren't exactly new, but I think I have a nice comparison of the white wood aster on the left with the world wood aster with its world leaves on the right. While the common self-heal on the right is, well, a common feature in a number of my videos, I think the pink turtlehead is a new one for me. And from what I've read, it's supposed to be deer tolerant. I think this might be the Amanita albocreta, which is a common find in the hardwood hemlock forests, with the southern Appalachians being their southern limit. Yeah, this is one of my favorite parts of any hike. Every Smokies hike, you invariably have to go halfway from sea level to Mount Everest in elevation gain. And then finally you start getting some downhill. Here is my first downhill. I love stuff like this. It looks just like a little lean-to or hallway or something. Man, I missed that gimbal. This is what we're looking for. Sweat Heifer Trail. I'm sure you guys, if you've watched my videos, you remember the one where we went on down the Sweat Heifer to Caphart Prong Shelter. But we are going to continue the extra mile this way till we hit Boulevard, and then a mile beyond that before we hit Dry Sluice Gap.
Oh, wow. Look at it. It's now into blooms. Berries, that dark blue. So iconic with those wide leaves. Well, time to continue on as we head towards Boulevard Trail. We're not quite there yet. About another quarter mile, I think. Here's the intersection of the Appalachian and the Boulevard Trail. Boulevard Trail goes off that way. And you'll see from my Rainbow Falls Mount LeConte hike, we went from there down this trail to get to this intersection, at which point we headed on this way, which is what we're going to do now. Last time we came this way, my friend Michael was with me, and we got here in the dark. So we didn't really get to have a whole lot of look at this shelter. It's the Ice Water Springs shelter. It is really pretty. Yeah, that should look familiar. Then, of course, that was the site of our beautiful sunrise on that hike. Time to get going and continue on. Ho, ho, ho. Here's our cut leaf coneflower. Oh, you gotta love. Oh, it's just gorgeous. And you can see the leaves do look sharply cut out.
I love firsts, and this love daughter or scaldweed on the left is indeed a first for me. The crimson bee balm with its rich color is one of my many long-standing favorites.
This never gets old, watching the mist flow over the top, just like a river going over a set of rocks in the stream. Oh, that's awesome. That's kind of pretty. Then over here, before they open. Not much of a view at the moment. That's okay. I'm sure from my last hike, the Rainbow Falls one, that you will recognize when we came by here and went to Charles Bunion, looked at over there.
It was like coming out of a tunnel and into the Charles Bunion light.
Oh, wow.
That's really plenty of room. It
Drink
doesn't
half
look
and trying to make it last. Good. Drink half of this.
All right, I'm good with this.
It was much better view on the last hike, as I mentioned. But it's still pretty. In fact, with the fog and the mist, it has even more of that mystical appeal.
Occasionally, it's fun to zoom in on something really small and imagine how a microscopic organism could look on it with the same sense of scale with which we perceive the forest that we walk through. The ghost pipe is one of the coolest flowers. Not only is it a parasite that needs no chlorophyll, it specifically targets the mycorrhizae, the mutualistic fungi that helps the plant roots get the water and minerals they need. I think it's a boletus mushroom, maybe the Olivosporus. Really not sure of this one, but it looks a little bit like some kind of chanterelle, maybe.
Oh boy. Well, here's the spot I've been waiting for. As you can imagine, turns out we got a junction right here. Kind of a big one. Gotta look where I'm stepping. Yeah. Dry Sluice Gap. That's the one. Sadly, this is where I leave the Appalachian Trail. I think we'll just sit right here, maybe right there, look out, enjoy a little bit of lunch. Of late, I have been thinking about what kind of equipment upgrades would be really helpful to me. I figured I'd break down, go ahead and get a good, sleeping pad, air mattress. One of the higher end, very light, very high cushion insulation, small pack size combination.
While I normally use a hammock, I think the sleeping pad should really help with the hard floors of the shelters I sometimes have to use. Of the helpful upgrades I'm considering, upgrading my current 5-pound 1980s backpack to a new 1-pound ultralight pack are probably some of the ones I'll focus on next. Meanwhile, a well-deserved rest break with a spectacular 5,400-foot bird's-eye view of the mist-enshrouded, green-clad mountains of the Smokies cannot help but bring with it an unbelievable peace and fulfillment. And to have such an experience with some really good, savory homemade sandwiches, why, that's almost more icing on the grandeur cake than anyone has a right to.
Sections like this, where it starts opening up as you reach the ridgeline again, and you get brighter, more airy. It's really cool. The other thing I wanted to mention is you'll notice these dug up areas. This is, of course, due to the wild boar, wild hog, whatever you want to call it. That's the feral hogs that are loose, that were, was it 1800s or something like that? Some guy thought it'd be cool to bring them in and set it, fence out an area in the Smokies, put these European wild boar in them and let people come in and fenced in area and do hunts. Lo and behold, they got away and escaped, and they are a real menace, uprooting stuff. Threatened plants are even more threatened because of this process, so they're always trapping and or removing them one way or another. Unfortunate when you introduce something that does not belong. That's worth going 5 feet off the trail. Just a little bit of a view, but yet that misty, socked in, ensconced feeling at the same time.
More fungi. I do love the colorful Jackson's mushroom on the left. Makes one think of those orange and white candies that they hand out in late fall. Coker's Amanita would be my best guess for the one on the right. The texture of the cap almost looks like the gem-studded puffball.
This looks familiar. That's because it's got some really cool berries. In fact, there's even some ripe. So I might take a taste of that. Grassy branch, that's what it was. All right. Okay. So we've just been on here 1.3. Cabin Flats and 3 miles. Smokemont 7.1, not too bad. Off we go. As you can see, it gets a little thick in here. However, one of the nice things about that is we have a fairly robust example of a crimson bee balm. Look at those shapes. Like, my favorite thing to say about them is that they look like a whole bunch of praying mantises facing outward in a circle. Red praying mantises in this case, but very cool. Oh, and here's this jewelweed. Very, very pretty. Oh, it's gorgeous. Well, we're about 3/4, half a mile from reaching the Cabin Flats Bradley Fork Trail. So one of the nice fun things always are the stream crossings, and this is the first one we've had that's been more than just damp, and even it's not bad. Pretty, pretty, pretty. But we must continue. Yep, here we are. Yeah, last time I saw this sign was when I was doing the Chasteen Creek, Hughes Ridge, Bradley Fork loop this past spring. Well, now I get to go no, not 0.6 that way, but more like 0.4 this way to get on the Bradley Fork. Oh, pretty, pretty. From here on out, Bradley Fork is just smooth as you could ever want. Love that Bradley Fork hike. Got so many cool things. And on the other side of the bridge, you get the Tawa Cascade.
Flowing water is simply mesmerizing. The effortless grace with which the water swirls and glides past all obstacles in its path cannot help but evoke peace of mind and tranquility of soul.
Well, you can't hike the Bradley Fork Trail without showing Hitching Post Falls. Yep. Bradley Fork, just 1.2 to go. As we pass the Chasteen Creek Trail. Let's go ahead and knock out that 1.2 miles. Well, we have reached that point once again where we've come to the end. You can see the gate for the trailhead here for Bradley Fork, and right over there in the silver car is my ride. A big shout out to my family for coming to get me. That was very kind of them. So please, if you get a chance, share this with somebody that you know likes hiking or backpacking. That is always wonderful. And if you can click that little like button, subscribe, you know, all the stuff every YouTube person tells you to do, that would help, and maybe I can do some more content. So thank you so much for letting me share this hike with you.
This is Graybeard for the Sylvan Reflections channel. See you on the next one. If you like this video, please consider clicking the like, subscribe, and notification bell.